Jihad is a Muslim term that means holy war, and this is very similar to the Christian notion of crusade. Waging this jihad is a central theme of the Quran. The Islamic tradition breaks down this holy war into two parts, the greater jihad and the lesser jihad. And this understanding is going to be very relevant to our study of Dune, messianic figures, and how you and I can relate to these ideas to win our strongest lives. Welcome back to Wisdom Warriors. Let's dive in. The greater jihad is the inner holy war waged against your lower nature, weaknesses, and vices. The lesser jihad is the external holy war, generally waged against non-believers and infidels, and this is fought with the pen and then the sword. I'm not a Muslim, but I am a student of religion, philosophy, and history, and I think this concept of jihad is more universal than most are aware of. I know for me, it speaks to me on a primal level, as it does most men across the earth. For almost a decade of my life, I waged the greater jihad without even realizing what I was doing, and it all culminated in my book, The Psychology of Slaying Dragons. And also, I relate to the lesser jihad as not necessarily converting and killing infidels, which I am certainly one, but more so about fighting corruption and evil in the world the same way I fight it in myself. Hence, this YouTube channel could be seen as my effort with the pen to wage the lesser holy war. If I have offended any Muslims in the room, please let me know in the comments. Dune! What a movie, huh? I'm sure many of you know Frank Herbert, the author of Dune, was largely inspired by the Islamic traditions. Hence, the plot crescendos at this holy war, where the Messiah leads the people of Arrakis in this war for liberation against the great houses. This is a powerful story that seems to me built into the framework of humanity. The image of a Messiah leading his people in a holy war of liberation is perhaps the most psychologically provocative symbol in all the world of myth.
Lead them to paradise.
4 billion plus Muslims, Jews, Christians, and even Hindus and Buddhists are praying for the Messiah's return every day. It seems to me that all of humanity has been convinced the world would end in a holy war since the dawning of time. How strange is that? The concept of the holy war and the Messiah's return is primarily encoded into most cultures. The Nordics believed in Ragnarok, the final war of the gods and men that would soon come. The Christians believe in the second coming of Christ and the purging of the earth. Hindus believe their Messiah, or in their language, the Avatar Kalki, will return at the end of our dark age on a horse with a flaming sword to purge all evil and corruption. The Muslims believe that their Mahdi will return at the end of the dark age and similarly cleanse the earth. 3 things strike me about this universal myth. 1, we are in the dark age and we are nearing the end. I encourage you to read The Holy Science by Sri Yukteswar to get a sense for the Hindu idea of Yugas and how we are nearing the end of the Kali Yuga. Although most Hindus misunderstand the timelines, Sri Yukteswar seems to hit it on the head. Point number 2, the last time messianic figures walked the earth was around 2,000 to 2,500 years ago, which corresponds perfectly to the turning of the age and the precession of the equinox. Buddha, Jesus, Lao Tzu, Pythagoras, Plato, Muhammad, all of them lived within a few hundred years of each other. How astounding is that? And according to the Jewish tradition and many other esoteric traditions, messiahs, messianic figures come in cycles every 2,100 years ago following the precession of the equinox to revive a cultural icon or a cultural religion. Point 3 here is that this universal myth of the Messiah is both exoteric and esoteric, meaning that it might happen in the outer world, but it definitely happens on the inner world of man. I define the Messiah as a spiritual force that is waiting to animate you. The Savior, the Messiah, is rarely depicted as this soft being. No, he descends into your body with a flaming sword and leads your own holy war for liberation and salvation. This is how you become your greatest version. This is how you reach the promised land. Is you see, you must become a disciple of something. In fact, the root of discipline is disciple, and I am a disciple of the Messiah. Yes, Christians and Muslims are going to go crazy in the comments, but know this. I have great respect for your religion, and all I'm doing here is unveiling the esoteric or inner teaching as it has occurred to me. So much of modern spirituality is based on the premise of softness, of tolerance, of equality. And for instance, values such as kindness have overtaken old values such as honor. We have a morality that looks good on the surface, but breaks down under pressure just like most people. You see, something like kindness or equality, the highest virtues of Western culture, these things tolerate evil. They can tolerate personal weakness. They tolerate corruption, whereas something like honor cannot. This inversion of values that Nietzsche talks about so heavily and we have covered on this channel is the result of the postmodern era, the anything goes age. And much of the old virtues have been tossed out the window. Although this is freeing in some regards, it has led to the confusion and the decadence that so many of us suffer from today. You see, you can't fight evil if you don't recognize it, if you don't call it by its name. As Marcus Aurelius said, the first rule is to look things in the face and know them for what they are. Things like resistance, fear, weakness, selfishness rule most people because they don't recognize them as the enemy. Many of these people go to their therapists searching for change, where they end up talking about their childhood trauma and their demons and the things that happened to them in their life. And don't get me wrong, that's super important work, but often they fail to talk about the need to man up and go to the gym every day and eat a consistent, healthy diet so that you start feeling better. They'll talk about the fears and the weaknesses and the pains, and the therapist is taught to affirm all those things instead of inspiring someone to overcome those things, to overcome fear with faith and courage. I know this inside of myself. I've swirled in a lot of addictions, pains, traumas before, and the healing of those things didn't happen by dwelling in them. It happened through moving forward. The problem with our culture is that we are always catering to the weakness in people. We are affirming them as a victim instead of inspiring strength. In essence, we enable their destruction, and this is bullshit. Modern day therapists are concerned with helping you love yourself, but you will never hear one talk about how to conquer yourself. This is the ancient form of therapy, and it's called the Jihad. Thou shalt not tolerate evil. All right, that was a little bit strong, I know, but it's nonetheless true. There are some caveats here. I understand that everyone walks a different and unique path, and I'm probably more warlike in nature than most. I do not believe in going to battle with yourself all the time or being harsh with yourself or anyone else for that matter. I believe in leading yourself like a strong and loving father would lead. And that looks like courage, compassion, sincerity, with a glimmer of danger in your eyes. The name of the game is baby steps and cultivating that leadership figure within, so that as the months and years go by, you create this stronger sense of cohesion and principle within the self. At the end of the day, my friends, it's about becoming a better warrior. Everyone's going to try to sell you a simpler or comfortable or easy path, but there is only one into your highest flourishing, and that's becoming a warrior for the ideal you serve. As we all know, life can hit hard, and I think our culture ill-equips us to face it, especially after the death of the masculine heroic myth. This is why I wrote the book, The Psychology of Slaying Dragons, and I want to read you an excerpt from the intro that I think encapsulates a few of the ideas we're talking about here. The energy of courage and self-conquest is unique to the warrior hero and is an absolute requirement for living the good life. The good life is earned through the transformative cycle of letting go and overcoming. As life passes, many of us remain stuck in old familiar ways of thinking, reacting, coping, and living that no longer serve. We want to break through into a better life, but great obstacles block the way. So many of us are struggling to change, heal, grow, and thrive. And without consistent heroism, we're screwed. The hero within is the only one who can surrender fully in change and loss, overcome fear, and seize the fire from heaven to move us forward toward our dreams. So let's talk about waging that inner jihad. One thing I've learned about this path is that most days, especially at the beginning, you're going to lose. And that's okay. For instance, after I saw Dune 2 for the first time, I felt really fed up with myself and this inspiration to win the Holy War. So I got home and one of the first things I did was I deleted Instagram and Facebook off my phone. I was so done wasting my attention when I knew I could be so much more. Lo and behold, the next day I found myself scrolling through YouTube Shorts. And then I went through a multiple month-long process of disciplining my social media consumption. And that problem will reoccur one day, I'm sure it will. On a good day, I'll probably train and work out at 75% of my capacity. Maybe I'll really excel in work, but then I'll fail in the evening times and overeat or, scroll on Instagram. And there's always this ups and downs, and we need to learn how to be gentle with ourselves. But inside of being gentle, the most important thing is to build a relationship to the transcendental principle within. You see, there's an essential self inside of you that is superior to this modern world. It is superior to all your plights and worries and even the worst of circumstances. It's why Stoic philosophers like Epictetus, the slave, could have this sense of inner freedom amongst the worst conditions. And this place of transcendence is where all growth, self-overcoming, and heroic action stems from. The Messiah, the messianic archetype, is in fact an avatar of the transcendent. In the ancient world, most people turn to God or faith in problematic times. Problem is in the modern world, a lot of people don't follow religion anymore, and if they do, they usually externalize their God outside of themselves, instead of connecting to the transcendent principle within and centering their being on it. Here's a quote from the Bhagavad Gita of Krishna instructing Arjuna, and I think this really embodies that transcendental principle in action. Therefore, Arjuna, surrendering all your works unto me, with mind intent on me, and without desire for gain and free from egoism and lethargy, fight, spoke Lord Krishna. Lord Krishna is synonymous in my mind with that lofty and transcendent principle within. And all he wants is for you to break free of your ego and live from a superior place. And to the best of your abilities, let the transcendent act through your body. So next time you're struggling or having a hard time or uncertain which direction to go, try connecting to the transcendent. I know it's had amazing results for me. And over time, as you build the relationship to the transcendent, to the superior self within, your actions and deeds will naturally become more pure and powerful. You'll care less for worries and the fleeting circumstances of life, and you'll be able to more easily let go of your ego. And that's the thing, is our ego, the mold we have created for it, is always blocking the way. So it's time we start crafting our ego into a perfect vehicle for our soul. Now, most people in the West right now, we subscribe to this existential philosophy, meaning that we don't believe that we have this essential fabric to our being, that the whole world is pure freedom and chaos and nothing really matters, so you get to create your own meaning. I don't buy into that. In my eyes, the central goal of man is to will forth his very essence, to embody wholly, freely, and completely who he is. And doing this presents a troubling but worthy path. Hey, real quick here, I just want to let you know that we're starting a men's group and men's academy for a lot of the concepts we talk about here. I'm looking for founding members. If that interests you, there's a link in the description below. Okay, on to heroic action. I smoked cigarettes for almost 8 years straight, every single day, and especially at night. And one day I was at my friend's house and I took a puff of tobacco and I was like, I don't want this. I don't need this anymore. But I felt chained to that reality. I felt chained to that substance. So I got a little bit angry, a little frustrated with myself, and I gave myself a challenge. And I was like, tomorrow will be the first day in 8 years that I don't smoke one cigarette, not even a puff. After that, I can return to this habit all I want, but I need to prove to myself one day. And I did that day. And then I did another day. And then I did a whole week. And then I just stopped smoking completely. And that's the thing, is one moment of heroic courage, one moment of transcendental manifestation changes your life. And this is why we need to bring back respect for the battles of life and re-elevate heroism to the position it belongs. Only through acting in service to the transcendent can we win our holy wars. Hey, thanks for watching Wisdom Warriors. I'm Christian. If you're interested in the men's group, there's a link below for that. If not, I'd recommend watching this video next on Nietzsche. I think it pairs really well with these concepts. Don't forget to live dangerously today, and may the transcendent be with you.